Hi, this is Narendra from Naren System Talk. Friends, welcome after a long time seeing you. So today the prevailing ominous signs are that Iran war is getting very escalatory in nature. What we are seeing is closure of Strait of Hormuz partially to certain nations, and certain nations are going, but insurance is not willing to risk the freight. This is because often you are seeing a drone attack or some other missiles coming and attacking. You saw, for example, yesterday a Thai freight carrier which was going along, passing along, was hit and it caught fire. So Thailand and Iranian government got into an agreement. So this has been that Iranian government has taken hostage of global economy for their own survival after United States and Israel unilaterally declared war, an undeclared war, just a bombing campaign where it took top leadership including Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and rest of the leadership of IRGC top leaders. Recent main killings, important killing of person of interest or person of importance were Ali Larijani, the General Secretary of Intelligence Committee, then Ehtab Ahmed, the intelligence officer. All this suggests that it's a with impunity. Israel and United States were acting, but the tactical victory has not gained into a necessary strategic win. Reason being, despite the military might have, in my opinion, showed weighed in the options of implications of Strait of Hormuz is known, and the Gulf countries which are surrounded, who will come in the wrath of Iran under the eyes. It was also calculated. It should have been calculated, right? The possible implications or possible hostilities which will come. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, these are all allies of United States. So this would be taken into calculation, but there is some kind of dismissal I heard from President Trump regarding the long-term strategic implication. This was not thought through. So the war escalated, and this is a great power competition wherein Trump wanted to cut the growing influence of China in in its own hemisphere, that is Americas, both mainly in Latin America, South America, that is, and you saw Venezuelan leader taken hostage, which was unprecedented in a night raid. And Trump, emboldened by this, thought Iran we can take in 4 weeks or 6 weeks. There should have been a calculation there. But the thing is, there is a mosaic doctrine there in Iran where they foresaw this after the Islamic Revolution in 1979, after the Shah was overthrown. Post Shah era, which is the Islamic Republic era, they foresaw that hostilities were there between West and Iran. Notwithstanding that, you saw so many hostages taken and Iran Contra issues. You can Google that. So I'll not go into detail on all those things. And after all these things, there is a chant of death to America, and they were very hostile towards United States. There is no love lost between these two. So Israel is the number one enemy in this region, and biggest Satan is United States. So this is the perception of the regime in Iran. This was disease, and to cut off Venezuela is cutting off China's influence in the, as I told, and Iran is also a partner of China. So China, North Korea, Iran, Russia form formidable allies among themselves, whereas West stand at other end, the Western world, that is, with the NATO ally plus now that is relationship is bit in a quagmire, in a very deep trouble, least to say, because of Trump's tantrum over the allies' inability and his takeover of Greenland and other hostile statement like Canada is my 51st state, I will take it. So Trump is not being a coherent president with a policy in mind, rather than an impulsive leader. So as I told in my mercurial and impulsive leader, what happens, you can see in my previous videos how the global leaders change the way the world functions, how it affects every part of society and individual and family. That is what is happening today. The impulsive nature of the decision without afterthoughts has led to this. So the ambition of China versus the ambition of US. US wanted to control all the oil supplies and limit the influence of Chinese, uh, keep the bargaining chip of oil as the leverage during the negotiations between their meeting between US president and Chinese president, which is about to take place. So these are all into the calculus. So Venezuela, then Syria, which was an ally of Bashar al-Assad, who was an ally of Russia, slowly taken down by United States and its allies. Though Russian-Ukraine war is still continuing, and it has costed Russia much in manpower terms and other terms. Russia has been relegated to a very weaker power in comparison, because they cannot take, they have taken 20% of land in 4 years. Imagine that, 20% of land. Compare that with Iran. Iran has thousands of missiles, maybe 2,000 to 5,000 missiles and 10,000 drones. Ukraine has nothing of that sort. Yet, with second grade or third grade Western weapons, mainly of US, they have been able to stand still in front of a much bigger Russia. Having said that, these are all power plays. So these power plays are leading to instability, global instability, uh, policy instability. There is no there is no correct policy towards how to mitigate man's or common man's problem, economic problem. There are many developing countries who cannot afford even proper food. You can take Somalia, Sudan, to other bigger developing countries like Bangladesh or even India, which is on the threshold of becoming a much bigger player. So all these are affecting a common man very badly because of the power play. And this, if it goes in this way, it will lead to a major conflict around hotspot, and it will be a bigger chaos due to the regional uh, war or regional skirmishes, conflicts, power plays, who is better than who kind of a play, which happened in World War One. We saw that consequences. Then World War Two, we saw the consequences. So this reminds me of historical context, how the ambition leads to destruction. Small example of Alexander the Great, 300 BC, son of Philip II. His father consolidated all city-states of Athens and Thebes, then formed Hellenic confederacy. Then he was killed by his own bodyguard. Then you saw what happened. Alexander the Great. Alexander went on to conquer many of the Persian Achaemenid kingdom, Achaemenid kingdom, which was a very huge landscape from Babylonia to present day Iran. So Achaemenid kingdom was had a conflict with Greece, where Xerxes had attacked Greek kingdoms, Hellenic kingdoms previously, and set on fire. So it is said that when Alexander the Great took over Egypt, then Assyria, Babylonia, then he entered the capital cities of Achaemenid kingdoms of Persia, Susan, and then Persepolis. When he entered Persepolis, there was looting, there was a lot of fire, it was caused damage, many people killed, and it is said that Alexander the Great looked at the statue of Xerxes, who had century ago, nearly a century ago, put Greece on fire. So when there was looting and fire going on in the eastern side of the palace, Xerxes' statue had fallen, broken. So he said to have murmured that, should I erect your statue, or should I leave it like that because you put torched our cities, or should I erect your statue because you had some virtues? Then Alexander overthrew Darius the Third. He banished him to Parthia, and Darius was not in command of his more than 100,000 men versus few 10,000, tens of thousands of men and cavalry of Alexander. Darius was taken captive, and he died. There are many accounts by how he died. Then he went on further to Gandhar, where he was welcomed by Ambi or Umphis by some of the account Greek name. Gandhar is present day Afghanistan, Hindu Kush mountains side, and Ambi then led a army, and they encountered stiff resistance from Porus in the Hydaspes river, that is Jhelum or Chenab river of Indus, near Indus. So after seeing the valor of this Porus, Alexander gifted him some gold and horses, and he couldn't go beyond that because there was a mutiny within. There is various account, because there was big Nanda Empire which had 80,000 odd horsemen and 100,000 more soldiers waiting for Alexander's arrival to welcome him. So he turned back to Babylonia, where on the way to Babylonia he died of various reasons. Similarly, you have Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan consolidated the Mongol tribe. Then he conquered entire Manchuria. Then went beyond to Europe, Eastern Europe. Till Eastern Europe he was there. He had expanded his kingdom. After his time, it is said that his capture was so brutal that entire village will be rubbled in the rubbishes, women raped and tortured, children killed, men decapitated, and he is just pure brutal. He was psychotic, brutal. At the same time, he had some wise things to say. He was a mixed personality. You can say split personality. So he had encountered, and he had left a vast empire for his sons, Obadiah Khan and others, many sons, prominently Obadiah Khan. So later it was divided into Golden Hordes, Ilkhanate of Iran, Chagathi, and Yuan in China. Before his death, he had conquered a kingdom named Xia in China, where he is said to have fallen from horse, and he had some grave injuries and he died. Before that, he wanted to dust off this Xia community or kingdom, which is called ethnocide. There was such a genocide there. It's in northern part of China, I hope, if I'm right. So these things, these are the motivation, these are the ambition that these kind of leaders have. We are going back to the medieval period, I believe, I presume. The way the great powers is taking place now, and going threading into the path of destruction. I can give you a few more examples. The main example I want to give is World War One, where Austro-Hungarian Empire and German Empire and Ottoman were at loggerheads. Rise of Austro-Hungarian Empire and the heir to Austro-Hungarian Empire, mm, Duke of Ferdinand, he was murdered by a Serbian, Giovanni. The Serbian killer was accused. Then Germany then came to the declared a war on Serbia. So Russia came to defend Serbia. So there was a power struggle already going on, and this was a trigger point. The murder of heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. When he was murdered, it was a trigger point for that war. There was already that rupture, or there was already this friction going on between these empires when there was a rise of German Empire under Wilhelm Kaiser, and Ottoman Bismarck unified this German Empire. It was a huge empire. It was third largest economy at that time. So this led to a power struggle in Europe, which soon spread to rest of the world. It brought in. So you can just imagine and relate to this. There was central powers, which was Germany, Bulgaria, and rest of them, and the allied powers, Russia. Later Russian Revolution led to armistice. Germany and Germany, Austro-Hungarian Empire, Ottoman, and Bulgaria were the central powers. And allied powers were France, Britain, and Russia. After Russian Revolution, Russia withdrew, had an armistice, but the United States joined after there was some blockade or something of that kind, and United States also joined this war. So you had allied forces defeat the central powers. Then you had a armistice where reparations were made to pay on Germany as a whole instead of dividing it with other players. So Germany felt betrayed. So Hitler rose in this during this interwar period, where League of Nations, which was an utter failure. Proponent was Woodrow Wilson and others, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson. After the Paris Peace Treaty and thereby forming of League of Nations, one of the main members, Japan, withdrew from that. Then it collapsed. United States itself, whose president Woodrow Wilson, who envisioned this, did not participate in this League of Nations. So it was an utter failure. After an attack on Manchuria by Japan, instead of not withdrawing in League of Nations, it withdrew from League of Nations and attacked Manchuria in China, and it did genocide, and thus war started. Second World War, where Hitler propagated that we have to avenge what happened in World War One. We need to avenge, and there is a great German nation to be risen back. That is Third Reich. So he promised that there will be 1,000-year ascendance of German power around the world, which proved to be very elusive. Because by 1945, under the bunker, Hitler killed himself. Soviet tanks ran through under the commandership of Shukov, Soviet general. Then you saw how brutal the end of Benito Mussolini was, and the Axis power and Axis powers got decimated, including Royal Japanese Empire, which attacked Pearl Harbor. United States was forced to join. Later, United States dropped the atomic bomb in two cities, and thereby Eastern theater of World War II came to an end. So these are the lessons we can take as a short what do you call a paragraph. I can say that these are the lessons we can take from history. How conquering or being one up with the other power or wanting to hold on to become a hegemony will lead to destruction of not only the nations and entire nations, society and people. There will be a utter catastrophe waiting to be happening. This is not what we want. We want a sane, visionary leaders who can lead us into reconciliatory mode and who will understand the need of people and the relationship with other nations, how we can balance it with national interest. Hyper nationalism killed, and in World War One, the death was 27 million due to hyper nationalism propagated by Hitler and likes of Mussolini. You had 45 to 50 million, more than 70 million deaths. So these are all causes of nationalism, hyper nationalism, and wanting to be a hegemon, competition in a very aggressive manner over other powers, competing powers. We can see that in history. So these are the lessons we can learn. One of the important lessons of Maurya dynasty is one of the last or biggest or most important, one of the most famous kings, Ashoka. We can take a very good example of him, wherein Ashoka's empire stretched from Gandhara, Afghanistan, to Bengal, nearly Bengal, Bangladesh today, to up to the south of India near Tamil Nadu. His only thorn in the flesh or unconquerable place was Kalinga, modern day Orissa and North Andhra Pradesh. That kingdom was so small, but it was so resilient. It is said to be resilient. So he had a brutal war to conquer that area. But when he saw in the course of that battle more than 100,000 people dead, which is not new, but he did. He saw that it in a very different vision where he saw only blood and his men also killed, many of them killed. He said to have encountered a Buddhist bhikshu who told, you are trying to conquer outer world. When will you conquer the inner world? They see the result of what you are conquering, the external world, in a very brutal manner. You better conquer your senses. This is a lesson for ages and lesson for all countries who want to be hegemony or remain hegemony at any cost and fight others and destroy the other community based on region, religion, or whatever it is. This is a very good lesson. Hope we will come into a saner path. Otherwise, destruction awaits humanity in the way we go. Post 2020s, we had COVID, Russia-Ukraine war. Then, in the line of all these events, you are seeing other catastrophe unfolding. There is also other eastern theater where Taiwan and Japan and other players are very hostile against China. China is acting in hostilities. So we don't know what will happen, or it's just an analysis. There may be a war, there may be a conflict. But the way it is unfolding with these all leaders at the helm, it looks very bad at the moment. Hope they take great wisdom from Ashoka, the Ashoka the Great, rather than Alexander, not so great. Because Alexander always wanted to conquer in an external environment by brute force, which is not in a civilized world in a 21st century with the very, very dreadful weapons that we have very advisable. Hope we get into the right mode. Goodbye. Please subscribe to our channel. Until then, let me see you with other topic, other time. Bye.